Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are enjoying your lunch. The food was prepared in the basement of Franklin County, where the garage is. So that's a joke. It's a joke. We had caterers for this, so it was good. It's okay. My name is Kevin Boyce, and I'm the president of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners, and I'm just thrilled and excited to have you here once again for our second annual luncheon of the state of the county. How about a round of applause for that, for our luncheon here? Exciting. We've come a long way since those COVID days, to say the least. Let me just first begin by saying that I'm thrilled as president of the Board of Commissioners to work with two very outstanding colleagues in Commissioner Erica Crawley, who's here with us. Give her a round of applause for me, please. And certainly Commissioner John O'Grady, who couldn't be here with us today. I see former Commissioner Kilroy here. Give her a round of applause too. Good to see you. So good to see you. Long time no see. But I'm so thrilled to have two colleagues that to work with that really bring a lot of resources to the table. They're just, as a person who served at the local level and the state level, I can't think of a better time in my life in service where I've worked with two colleagues that we gel so well together. Each has their own expertise, their own perspective, and believe me, we've been in the trenches. And the work is only because the three of us work so well together. I know I saw former colleague Charlene Tavares here, so no offense to our city council days, but this is a little better. I'll just say that. I don't know. You said the other day the noise when you start talking, you shifted it on me, I guess. Yeah. Well, there's so much to talk about. Let me first apologize. I have been under the weather for the last 4 days, so I literally have been in the bed. And this is the first time I've been out of the bed to just try to share a little bit about Franklin County with you. So, that being said, I promise that I'll practice the 5 B's today. And if you don't know what the 5 B's are, it's be brief, brother, be brief. So that's going to be my practice of the day, I can assure you. But I don't know if you know that in America, counties are the oldest form of government, or the oldest form of local government in the history of our great country. Today, there are over 3,000 counties nationwide that lead communities like Central Ohio and some that are not so much like Central Ohio. Nonetheless, Central Ohio is where we are, and we've got some unique things to share with you today, and I'm really excited about that. The other thing I would say is we've got a very special partner with us today, Kerry Charles, who's going to be our MC for the day. Give him a round of applause. And I'm just going to share with you how he irked me today. You know, I say to Robin, who's been the coordinator, and Tyler, I say, look, you know, I don't appreciate you bringing in someone that's going to outdo me and look better than me. He's sharper dressed, he's younger, he's better looking, all that. And, you know, I said, hey, you know, it's supposed to be our time. It's the county commissioners. You know, bring it down a little bit. He turned to me and said, there's nothing wrong with being number 2. So I guess I'm number 2 today, Kerry, but thank you. So it's good to have you here as well. And certainly I want to recognize and thank all of our partners. We couldn't be Franklin County strong without you, our collaborators, our partners, and certainly you, the residents. And I see so many special entities out there today, and I'm going to name a few because that's just my prerogative. But the truth of the matter is that we are unique and lucky to have so many partners that carry out our day-to-day mission of every resident every day and work together with us to accomplish that. So Primary One, our friends from Primary One are certainly those folks, the African American Wellness Walk, I see them here, the Urban League, Mid-Ohio Food Collective, and so many others. And then finally, we just couldn't be a strong Franklin County without the partnership of our other elected officials. And while there are so many here, I'm looking for the list. I think, Robin, you may have the list in that book here. Can you bring that to me? I just want to take a moment to recognize all of our elected officials, because I can assure you in my investment banking life, where I work with other counties and cities, I can tell you that we're unique in how well we get along. And while we don't always get along, did I steal it?
No, you're good.
Okay, you don't see it. While we don't always get along, I can assure you that we do our best to try. And so sometimes I don't know where that list went. I'm so sorry for the elected officials that I'm not going to recognize today now. No? Let me just make sure. Did I put it in my pocket? I don't know. Is it in there? That's odd. There it is right there. Danielle, thank you so much. I put it in my swag bag. That's so weird. Blame it on the illness, man, because that's just weird. All right. So, but I mean what I say when I can assure you that it really isn't an easy job to be an elected official. And when we work together, that's when you see the progress of a great community. There's not a place in Central Ohio you can go and not see an orange barrel on the roadway or a crane in the sky. And that's because we've got really good partners who understand the value of a region. They understand what it means to be the heart of a region and also to be the body and soul of a larger and greater cause. And that's what these elected officials represent. So as I call your name, please stand, and we'll have you all stand and we'll give you a round of applause at the end. First of all, Franklin County Sheriff Dallas Baldwin, I believe he's here. I know he's got a table. If he's not, we're grateful to have you here. Hold your applause to the end. City of Reynoldsburg Mayor Joe Bagney, I know he's here, he's at my table. Franklin County Treasurer Cheryl Brooks Sullivan. Franklin County or Perry Township Trustee Chet Cheney, I know he's here, I just saw him. Representing Congressman Kerry I can never say his name right, I'm gonna mess it up. Abdoulaye Dieng? I got that right. Columbus Council Member Shayla Favors. Please stand up, Shayla. Are y'all gonna just give her, I said no round of applause until afterwards. Y'all just gonna, Shayla stands up, you're gonna give her a round. Okay, stand up, Shayla. Get a round of applause for Shayla Favors. Absolutely. We know what that's about, Councilwomen. We know. It's like, we're not gonna say anything, but we know. Also, Franklin County Engineer Brad Foster. He's new here. Where's he at? Brad. Keep standing. Ohio Representative Beth Liston. I'm not sure she's here, but maybe she is. Franklin County Recorder Danny O'Connor. Franklin County Coroner Dr. Nathan Overmeyer. Columbus Council Member Emmanuel Remy. Columbus Council Member Nancy Day Archer. And I think there's other council people here. Chris Weiss is here. Council Member Chris Weiss, stand up, please. Anybody else that I missed? Any other elected officials? No? Okay, give them another round of applause for me, please. All right, I'll save my final remarks for the end. At this time, let me introduce our friend Carrie Charles, the number one, Carrie Charles, who is the weeknight news anchor for NBC Channel 4. Carrie is a valued hometown treasure, getting his start in broadcast journalism while attending Crestview Middle School. That's where I went to middle school, too. It's no longer Crestview, but it's Indianola. But my kids went there, too. Crestview is a great school. Where he became the host of Kids Sunday, a radio show airing WCBE 90.5 FM. He was also a young anchor and a reporter for the Kids Network, I remember that, a weekly television program that aired on Saturday mornings. A graduate of Lyndon McKinley High School. So, I went to Brookhaven, too. I was on the other side of Dresden. So that's another problem we got. Man, talk to me after. You and I are going to have some issues. And then the University of Cincinnati, where he studied communication. And later was recognized as UC Communication Alumni Champion. That's a big deal. Carrie's success didn't stop there. Since joining NBC4, Carrie has worked on projects that have been recognized by the Associated Press, the National Association of Black Journalists, and the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Emmy. I could go on and on, but instead I want to leave you with what's most admirable about Carrie, and that's his commitment to serve our community. Please join me in welcoming our very own premier NBC4 anchor, Carrie Charles.
I added the word premiere, so he had to read that. So good to be with you all. And like the commissioner, I have some sinus issues that are kicking my backside. So please excuse me today, but I still brought my bright and shiny face to be with you all. So we can talk about engagement and celebrating the work that's been taking place here in the county. And it's so cool to be home and go to different events. And I was just talking to Kenny Hampton a second ago. He's like, you're everywhere. I'm like, yeah, but it's cool because it's like a reunion, because if I don't get to see you on Saturday at the Classic, then I'm going to be talking to you on Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, right? I'm all over it. So anyway, so good to be with you all and recognize the work we are doing here in the county. And I say we because it's a collaborative effort, and we're talking about engagement and so many efforts and so many people coming together. And also shout out to the county for backing the Thanksgiving Back Turkey Drive. Last year we gave 2,500 turkeys to families. It's a partnership between NBC4, Urban Radio, and so many other entities. And so we're glad to have you all join us in that. So one thing that's going to be extremely important to note is that we are focusing on the successes of the county when we talk about in black and white. You know, it's important to see the statistics. It's important to see the numbers. We do a lot of talk, on the phone and when we see each other and whatnot, but we need to take a look at the numbers and break them all down. So that's what this report is all about. So we'll be looking at how many Franklin County residents the county works with each year, and then also an issue that so many entities are tackling is affordable housing in the area. And I know you all are talking about it. I see heads nodding as soon as I said affordable housing, because there's so many people who are being shut out of home ownership, or the rent is going up. What do you say, the rent's too damn high? It's getting a little up there for some folks. So it's great to see many agencies working on that and tackling that issue. We're going to be talking about support for small businesses, historic investments in childcare, and workforce development. Also, I'm interested in the panel that we are going to have in just a couple of moments. I'll tell y'all a little something. We had this is about diversity, equity, inclusion, and I'm always surprised that people get offended and don't want to talk about this. And I saw a comment recently about me saying that I was the station's DEI hire. And I'm going, now I've been doing this for 20 years. I grew up in radio and TV. I've worked in Atlanta, Greensboro, North Carolina, Shreveport, Louisiana, here in Columbus, Cincinnati. And so I'm looking forward to this panel about DEI as we talk about the importance of inclusion, as we talk about the importance of recognizing one's resume and what they bring to the table, and opportunity. That's so important. So I normally don't get into the comments because people are just crazy. But I was like, okay, I'm the DEI hire. So we'll be doing that in just a moment. I'm going to just double check, make sure I haven't, yep. And so this is what I'm looking forward to. The panel discussion includes the county commissioners and county administrators. So we're going to address, as mentioned, diversity, equity, and inclusion in the community and workplace. And so for that, it is my pleasure to introduce to you your moderator for today, the Chief Economic Equity and Inclusion Officer, D'Amica Withers. Commissioner Erica Crawley. Commissioner Kevin Boyce. And unfortunately, Commissioner John O'Grady is not able to join us today. So sitting in for him is your Franklin County Administrator, Ken Wilson. Enjoy, and I will see you all on the other side.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be here with all of you, some familiar faces, some new faces, but definitely a collaborative effort, because we could not do business as a county by ourselves. We do it with all of you here in the room. And I am so grateful to not only work, live, and play in a county where I have county leaders who deem it important to serve our residents in the very best way. And I am excited about this panel. I'm excited to hear what our commissioners and county administration have to say. They have been working really hard and champion DEI and its efforts and the work that we have been doing. I have been doing county government for 23 years, and I have to say this is the best county that I have worked for in the state of Ohio, and the best folks that I have worked for, to be able to have that support not only for me and our division and moving forward. So let's get right into the discussion, shall we? So in 2019, the commissioners and county administration began an initiative to analyze the causes of poverty and what we know right now as the Rise Together Poverty Blueprint, which quickly revealed that you can't talk about poverty without talking about systemic racism. Then in 2020, you declared racism as a public health crisis and added racial equity as one of your core principles on how we do good governance. What has that commitment looked like over the past 4 years, and how has racial equity landscape changed since 2020? Commissioner Boyce, Mr. O'Connell, Administrator Wilson.
I sit here so I can go last. Can you hear me okay? No, they can't hear me.
Did you touch your mic?
Come on. Come on.
There you go.
All right. Commissioner Crawley looked at me and said, "Did you turn it on?" No. I got to turn it on? I didn't know that. Anyways, so think about what was happening in our country in 2020. George Floyd had been murdered in Minneapolis, and we saw unrest all over the country because I really believe that it started a new chapter in American history where cities and counties should bring up something. Okay. Cities and counties, that better? Up higher, okay. That better? Okay, thank you. All right, well, cities and counties, all right, I feel like I'm just talking it. Just do it this way. Where cities and counties, I think we're awakened to really look in the mirror and say to themselves, what can we do better? And for us in Franklin County, it was a number of things. One, it was working with our sheriff department to outfit our law enforcement officers with body cameras. But it's not as simple as just saying we're going to order new body cameras. You know, you have to think through policy and procedure, and quite frankly, it's a cultural change for law enforcement. And so it's not as simple as it may seem. But that, to me, was the very beginning of a change that hadn't happened since the beginning of Franklin County. And it's that kind of nuance that I think has given Franklin County a new life in how we look at diversity, equity, and inclusion. Secondly, finally, I'll just say, we also zeroed in with our Racial Equity Council to ensure that we were doing our part to make sure that business owners had an opportunity to do business with Franklin County, and that we opened up our doors to women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, to veteran-owned businesses, not just for the purpose of inclusion, but also to ensure that we're getting the best product. You know, because that's really what the DE&I conversation is about. Yes, it's inclusion, but it's also ensuring that we're opening up the net, casting the net, so that we get the very best product that we can possibly get. And I think that's the difference that we've seen over the last 4 years since the 2020, since George Floyd's death. And if there was a silver lining in such a harsh tragedy, it was opening our eyes to how we can be better as a county and as a community, and I think we've taken a few of those steps.
Absolutely. Thank you. Commissioner Crawley or Administrator
Well, I'll
Wilson?
defer to Administrator Wilson because I wasn't here 4 years ago. I haven't even been here 3 years just yet, so I'll let him chime in and then I can go.
Thank you. When the pandemic hit, we were, as a county, already aware of many of the disparities, particularly when we talk about economic segregation and the lack of economic mobility in certain parts of our community. So just imagine when the pandemic hit. You know, there's an old adage that when the majority of America has a cold, communities of color and marginalized communities have the flu. So now we have a global pandemic. We had the realization to know just what that means to communities of color. So we can't just, at that point, express words. It was very important that the declaration was made to make racism a public health crisis. But something this Board of Commissioners did, they tied that to 10 actions that were not just lightweight things that county administration and the agencies under the Board of Commissioners needed to carry out. And the same goes with declaring racism and racial equity, linking that to the core principles of everything that we do. We talk about it being in our value set. We talk about show me your budget and I'll know what your priorities are. So during the pandemic, investments have been made, particularly targeted at African American communities, communities of color, to give them an opportunity to, at a time of crisis, be able to seek out opportunity. The development of freedom equity came out of the pandemic, which was the first in this community, now CDFI, that is unapologetically focused on putting capital in the hands of those that in the past went to the bank and got an answer of no, where others may have got an answer of yes. So we worked with partners like the Columbus Urban League to accomplish that. We created an equity fund where we gave loans to and grants to small business owners as a part of all of this. We've distributed over $40-some-odd million in emergency rental assistance because we know the importance of someone being able to keep a roof over their head. So it's been not about talk, it's been about action. And I credit this Board of Commissioners for allowing me as the administrator to lead those efforts.
Absolutely.
I think what I would add is before we could even really serve the community and our organizations, we had to look internally, right? Like if we're going to declare racism as a public health crisis or make racial equity a core principle of good governance, we had to really look internally and say, does our staff reflect the community? Is our staff and our agencies under the Board of Commissioners reflective of the community in which we serve? What are the thoughts, beliefs, and values that we hold as employees serving the community? So, you know, one of the things that we changed is making sure that when we're onboarding new employees that they understand the Rise Together Poverty Blueprint Plan. What the community said that they wanted. The Poverty Blueprint Plan is our framework for doing business, for what the community said that they wanted to see. It was made for the community, by the community, and one thing, and I know one of the questions we'll talk about is the first thing that they said is like we can't really remove barriers if we don't identify racism as being a problem. So leading the work, Chief, looking internally at our agencies. We have agencies that are predominantly white men and not inclusive of women, and we're changing that to have more women and more people of color. Also people with disabilities, those are who are differently able. When we think about DEI or inclusion, oftentimes, people who are differently able feel like they're left out of that conversation, and I know that you're working hard to make sure that people are inclusive. I think the other thing that's important that we have done and that we're very focused on, especially when we make board appointments. So the commissioners appoint to more than 40 boards and commissions, right? So we're talking about Adam H, we're talking about CODA, we're talking about, large nonprofits. What was those boards looking like? What was the makeup? These are our designees. These are people who are serving at the pleasure of the commissioners. And do these boards reflect, or are appointees reflecting the community? And is it inclusive? And then I would say the other thing that we have been really focused on when we talk about investment, and this has come up a lot in community partnerships, is what does the board makeup of the organizations in which we're funding look like? do they have a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Are they committed to making sure that those who are the most vulnerable or the most at risk are getting opportunities and being inclusive? So I think since I've been to the board, and I love the fact that I got to join a board of commissioners that had already declared racism as a public health crisis, because I came from the legislature, and me and my former colleague, Stephanie House, had introduced a bill to declare racism as a public health crisis, and they wouldn't even bring it forward. Wouldn't even let us have a hearing. And then finally we had one hearing before I resigned to come down to the Board of Commissioners, and it was like, well, we're really not gonna move this if you don't change the name racism to discrimination. I was like, I'm unwilling to do that. And State Rep House at the time, now Councilwoman House, we were unwilling to do that. Like, we're gonna call a thing, right? And we can't really address the thing unless we identify and be unapologetic about what we're talking about here. And so I love the fact that I get to work with administration and two colleagues who continues to prioritize our investments, but also making sure when we talk about inclusion, that everyone in Franklin County feels like this is a place that they could live, work, and play and raise a family. Because if you talk to people, they feel like, you know, there are some that are doing really well in the county, and then there are some who feel like they've been left behind and that people have forgotten about them. And this board has not forgotten about anyone.
Yes, thank you.
Can I just add something? Commissioner Crawley made me think of something. Two things. One, 7 years ago, when I started on the Board of Commissioners, I became the first African American in the history of Franklin County to serve as a member of the Board of Commissioners. And just a couple of years later, now we have a majority of the board is minority. It's a majority-minority board, and that's never happened in the history of Franklin County. And I think why that's important is because it also sets forward the values of this community, and it says to us what the value set is of Franklin County. And so we know that it's not just a fad or a saying, it is the value set of Central Ohio, and we feel obligated to carry that out. Commissioner Crawley and I, to some extent Commissioner O'Grady, we talk about this all the time, and we prioritize it in a way that is reflective in, as Administrator Wilson said, in our budget, in our priorities, and even through DE&I. You know, if you remember when you first became director, I said, hey, tell me what you need budget-wise. Don't. This is not some gratuitous position where you just come in and make recommendations. You tell me what you need, and we'll get you that. And let's set the bar for the entire country. And I believe that we're working our way to do that.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Definitely, let's get them a hand clap, because so many things have happened outside of the George Floyd tragedy. You've seen a lot of organizations across America adding a DEI division, making notes that we needed to focus on racism. But what were you really doing? And Commissioner Crawley said, like, you want to call a thing and call it out and be unapologetically about it, and make sure that we are putting in action. And what this Board of Commissioners and our county administration have done has put things into action. And you should be commended. And not only put into action, but Commissioner Boyce just mentioned one of our first conversations about the budget. And I often remember that. I go back to that. I talk to my staff about that, because you challenged. You challenged me, you challenged the staff, you challenged the DEI division to make sure that the work and the actions that we were doing were going to remain sustainable. And you are to be commended for the work that you are doing while we're having this conversation today. Let's talk about equity for a moment, because folks get equity confused with equality, and well, that's not fair. So let's just dive into that subject. When people talk about equity, we often think of it as a race issue, but you've tried to embrace a fully inclusive culture that also supports women, immigrants, our LGBTQIA+ community, and more. Why do you think it's important to be active and a seen partner in all of these different spaces?
I'll lead off. I mean, it's just interesting that we have the conversation still around equality and equity. And they are far apart. They've been illustrated. Equity does not assume that we all start at the same place. Equality would assume that we all are at the same place, and you give us the same resources, and we all should have the opportunity through the work of ourselves, blood, sweat, and tears, and you should be responsible for the result. But that's not Franklin County, that's not America. We all have different, unique needs that you have to speak to. You see the illustration that uses the analogy of height and a fence, and everybody need a different size box to stand on to be able to see over that fence. That's really what equity is all about. You know, it's not about, in many of our policies, and under this board, we try to be intentional to think about one size don't fit all. You can't give every child the same size shoe and say run a marathon. They gotta have the shoe that fits. And then with the proper nurturing and coaching, then they will be able to achieve results with the proper motivation and training and being in the proper environment and having those health and human services around them. And equity is that's what equity is about. And that's why we have to elevate the conversation about equity. And that, you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity is a reality in Franklin County when we look at our population of 1.35 million people. And equity I just talked about. And inclusion is policymakers, administration, making a conscious choice to give people a space, but not only a space in the room, but a space that they feel comfortable in that room and expressing themselves.
Yeah, I would add to that and say, when I think about equity, one of the phrases that comes to mind is when people say everyone should just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. But the assumption is that everybody has boobs, right? Which is not the case. And so, you know, since we have a majority minority board, and we have been focused on addressing racism, addressing discrimination, and sexism, everybody isn't on board with that, right? Like, people want to know, why are we making investments just for minority businesses, right? So we created the CDFI, Freedom Equity, because during the pandemic, a lot of small and minority businesses, emerging businesses, didn't have the relationships with large banks, right? And so they weren't getting PPP loans, and they were seeing their doors close. They had to close their business, lay off people, and it was just having an impact where other businesses that had those relationships with larger banks were getting those loans and able to stay open. Well, in order to mitigate that, we're like, let's create something that will put capital in the hands of business owners who don't have those relationships, right? That matters. Or when we did the investment with the city of Columbus to support small and emerging businesses, I think we ended up putting $8 million over 2 years, so $4 million a year. It's important to do that. Everybody doesn't have the same relationships. We know historically banks have been discriminating against Black businesses, women-owned businesses, and that's something that we continue to rectify, especially even when we look at housing. We know that redlining was a thing. We know that we continue to see the impacts in our community from redlining, and where people couldn't get loans. Home ownership continues to be a problem. And so we are clear that we serve all of our residents, but everybody's not starting at the same starting point, and therefore we need to make strategic investments so those who feel like they've been left behind, and truthfully have been left behind, can at least catch up and be on the same playing field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that is very well said by both my colleagues here. The only thing I'll add to that is in 2018, we launched an effort where we brought together many of our collaborators and partners to really study poverty in Central Ohio. Yeah, I know former council member Charlie DeVars is on that committee, and I know I saw some others that were a part of that group. But we brought in a consultant that helped us study this, and in the findings that they provided us after a year-long meeting effort was that racism was at the core of some of our challenges. And somebody said earlier, call it a thing is a thing. Is that what you said? Something like that, yeah. It's what my grandmother used to say: if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then damn it, it ain't a frog. And so if it's in poverty, that's the same thing. It is what it is. And we know that racism is connected to that. And so we made a very conscientious and deliberate decision to address that. And so we formed the Rise Together Institute. I see Danielle here, sitting here, who is leading our effort for big ideas. So, and I bring that up because by no means are we finished yet. By no means do we have all the answers. By no means is Central Ohio and Franklin County a finished product of this discussion or work. Quite frankly, we're at the very beginning of that discussion. And you think that Franklin County existed for far more time before there was ever an African American or an African American woman as a commissioner. And today, that's a majority of the board. That means we're making progress, but it also means we've got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just add, I mean, it took 220 years to get to me.
Yeah.
Right? First woman of color.
Right.
And because it has taken so long and government is slow, like I go into a lot of rooms where I am the only woman, not even just the only one person of color, I am the only woman. And so I think when we talk about equity or an inclusion, it's usually from, as you point out, like a race perspective. But we're talking about a veteran. I'm a veteran, and I'm often only in the room, but just being a woman and going into rooms with a lot of men all the time, like we got a long way to go. And I know at the board, we're very much focused on women being included as well.
Definitely a lot of progress made. Go ahead.
So I just want to add one point to that because I want to point out how it does make a difference when there is a woman at a table or when there's different perspective to teach you. When Commissioner Crawley came on, she was the very first person to raise doulas. In the role of doulas in healthcare and for women and in the birth process. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was like, I don't know anything about this. Like, what is that? And the point is that, but for her leadership in the conversation around the value and the role that plays in households, and particularly with the maternity rates and so forth, you know, it to me was something I would not have been exposed to, but for her leadership. I can go on and on about from early childhood education and different things, and we collaborate on these things. So it's she brings perspective, I bring perspective, John brings perspective, but more importantly, it represents the broad scope of Central Ohio and the diversity of Central Ohio. And that, to me, is how it really does make a difference to be inclusive and to have a diverse group leading whatever the agency or entity is.
Absolutely, and our representation matters so much. And even the intersectionality that you talked about, Commissioner Crawley, with being a Black woman, being a veteran, and how that goes to our inclusive efforts and the things that we are doing here at the county. And what you heard so far is not only those actionable items, but making sure that voices are lifted externally and that we are collaborating with our community partners, with our internal staff. You all mentioned earlier our Racial Equity Council, and part of the Racial Equity Council was an initiative through our county administration that is really an extension of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Division. As well as that strategic effort, we completed a cultural climate audit, the first time that an audit was done, to identify the mindset of what our staff thought about diversity, equity, and inclusion back in July 2021. And some of those statistics said that 85% of Franklin County employees believe a diverse workforce is more successful than a culture that does not include equity. This board has been unapologetically passionate in their approach and goals in creating a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace and community, which is why they have invested $21 million in minority-owned businesses, spent $14 million uplifting women-owned businesses over the past year in 2023. What are you doing to ensure that your own team accurately affects the community you serve? And you talk some about that, about being a majority minority board, but what else? How does that reflect in our organization?
Oh, I can? Yeah, I can start. No, I think what you see as far as like administration, and when I think about our directors, over our 14 agencies, it is very much reflective. Like you have Black women leading, you have white women leading, you have inclusive of LGBTQIA+ individuals, you have men leading, and you have diversity in African or white or just African American. We are inclusive of those who have disabilities, Jewish people. When I first came to the county, my own personal staff, I had a young white woman, a Jewish woman, a black woman, and then me. And now I have 2 black women and getting ready to hire a black man. And so you see a representation of the community. And then as we hire more staff, we hire people who are knowledgeable and are experienced, but we are very much looking at how does this bring more diversity to the county? And that's why when we even have our, Administrator Wilson can speak to this a lot, when we have our hiring process, there's multiple people on those calls. So it's not just the person that's doing the hiring. They bring people from different agencies to sit on that call. Usually it's about 4 or 5 individuals, even on the initial interview. And then on the second round of interviews, you have more people who are from different backgrounds, different walks, interviewing and asking questions. So we can very much hire what the community looks like.
Absolutely.
The only thing I'd add to that, as well said, is that it also transfers in procurement. That's where I like to see the measurement. When we built, it's not something fun to talk about when you say you built a jail. But that jail was a $350 million plus project, and embedded in a $350 million new jail are the services and resources that we can use to serve our residents. And I'm proud to say that we did that almost 30%, Chris, almost 30% of that went to minority-owned companies. I mean, that's a lot of money. That is. And honestly, that was the first project that the county, in the history of Franklin County, was able to do that, where we set goals in the contracts we're getting. Councilmember Favors, you'll appreciate this. We had I'm not taking credit for this. Before I got to the county, we couldn't. You obviously can't have set-asides, but what you can have is we challenged the prosecutor at the time to say, can we have goals? And finally, after a lot of conversations and discussions, the prosecutor at the time agreed that we could set goals. But here's the thing, community. Why he did that, and I'll just recognize former prosecutor Ron O'Brien for this. Why he did that was when we were out campaigning, he heard that in the community. He heard that we were at candidates nights and they presented that to him. We want to see more, and we want to see the peanut butter being spread, if you will, through procurement. And so when we came back that year after election, we said, can we have this conversation again? And he said, yeah, I think it's time to have that conversation. And so he approved, because we had to get the prosecutors, I think Councilmember Favors knows this, we have to get the prosecutors' support for that kind of goal. And he did. And not only did we meet the goal, but we exceeded it significantly. And through our D&I efforts, we continue to exceed that kind of performance every single week. Every time we have a Board of Commissioners meeting, they have to provide us, the Board of Commissioners, with a report on how we're doing with regards to every single contract that goes out about D&I and inclusion, D&I. Every single contract, and that's different. That's not how we did business before, and that's how we do business today, and it makes a difference. Because everybody's on the hook. Quite frankly, I'm sitting there thinking, you said 85%, I'm thinking of the 15% who don't have that value set.
Right.
Yeah.
And so because that's something that we really believe deeply, and we see it every day, and it comes out in the procurement process that you're always a part of on Tuesday mornings.
Yes.
Additionally, this board set up a construction inclusion team that you all appointed members to that serve as a body that follows the principles that you all laid out and are monitoring not only construction but workforce participation. Our people from the community monitoring who's working on the projects. So that is something that
Senator Tavares
that has emphasized. Senator Tavares in our audience. So you all had that in place after we, on our first project, the Franklin County Forensic Science Center and the James A. Kearns Correction Center. Both of those projects had aspirational goals tied to them. And every project thereafter will have aspirational goals tied to them. I was in a meeting just yesterday in the Franklin County Crisis Center. That is a $63 million project that Adam H. Is spearheading with the county's assistance is at 31%, as we said, at about the midway point of construction. So we are leveling up as a community and setting a new standard.
And I'll just add too, I'm glad you raised that point, Administrator, but the City of Columbus has been great partners with us as well. As many of you know, we're building a new terminal at the airport. I mean, Central Ohio is growing, and as a part of that growth, we've got to build a new airport, essentially. And embedded in that conversation is that didn't exist before, is that those projects, that it's $2 billion, is that something like $2 billion project? Embedded in that conversation is the same inclusion conversation that we had about the jail and about the other places. But we partnered with the City of Columbus to set that standard with the airport because we're both joint owners of the airport, or at least we appoint the board that's owners of the airport. And so that standard is embedded now in agencies outside of the City of Columbus, outside of Franklin County. And that's where you see real growth in DE&I, when other agencies understand, hey, that's the value set by the City of Columbus and Franklin County, we need to hold that too. And so for that project, and we've been in heavy negotiations about that, and everyone that's involved has held firm on the fact that there will be an inclusion goal of 25% plus. And that's progress. That's progress.
Commissioner Farley.
I don't know where we are on time, but I would just add that even when it comes to our investments, when it comes to public-private partnerships, if we're even talking about affordable housing or mixed use and people are seeking county dollars, we have a requirement. Like, well, what is the minority participation? Our goal is this, and if you want our investment, like, are you willing to work towards that? And we even have a public-private partnership for the North Market. That's going to be a hotel as well as apartments. And we even asked for it to be included in the contract for Experience Columbus. They're here. They have a workforce development program to get people in the hospitality industry into middle management, which had been a problem for years, and the pandemic exacerbated that. So outside of making sure that we have affordable housing component, but the people who are going to be working there, who's going to be building it. So when we talk about the tower or the forensic science center or the child care center that we're getting ready to build after we demolish the jail, what does participation look like from a minority perspective as well as gender? But then also people who are going to be working there, what is your goal as well? So, I mean, we go deep.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do. And we have hard, necessary conversations. And not only are we held accountable by our residents and partners like you, but we also make sure that we're leading in the conversations to say that these are our measures and what we want you to follow. And not just being a great funding partner, but a collaborative, on the boots, we'll be there with you, having these hard, necessary conversations as partners. And I love that not only does our board do that, but that seeps through all of our county leaders in the county. Another thing that's one of the things that they pointed out is that our people look to Franklin County to see how are you leading, how are you guiding, how are you building standards, making sure and wanting to say, what is the county doing? How can I work to incorporate these practices into my organization? And so many of us, Commissioner Boyce and Commissioner Crawley and Commissioner O'Grady, myself and Administrator Wilson and other county leadership work really hard with our national partners through a National Association of Counties, and we are at the table. Our voice is heard, what we're doing is looked at as best practices. And so with that being said, lots of jurisdictions across the country have limited or even dismantled their DEI practices. So much to say they can't even say diversity, equity, and inclusion, have training. You see so many legislation has passed that provides even more oppression in our communities. And so we've been doing the work for quite a while now with progress that we can point to, so many accomplishments as you have already talked about. But what do you think the future holds? We talk a lot about sustainability. We talk a lot about how this division of diversity, equity, and inclusion, although we've been doing this work for a long time, now it sits somewhere, you have something to call it. What does sustainability look like? And how does the path forward look for this work? And why do you think it's important to continue to create a workplace culture and society that dedicates itself to inclusion and equity?
I'll start off, just say that, as we said earlier, there's not a place in Central Ohio you can't go and see a crane in the sky or orange barrels on the street. I mean, we are growing. Even our highways are expanding. And so as we grow, I think that we will become more diverse. We will become more advanced. And with the new Intel project, I mean, that is a lifetime kind of project that has implications for generations to come. And so I think what you're going to see is that as a value set, not just of Franklin County, Central Ohio, but of the region. And when you see that, truly you'll have what I would say is an anchor in the Midwest to lead the way for the country. And I only see it getting better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would just echo that. I think as we continue to grow, I would like to see some of our other municipalities have a focus in this area when it even comes to like housing and transportation. There are many who feel like they're left out. I was on a panel up in Dublin for Leadership Dublin, and there are some townships, and I know our township association the president is here, and I'm sure he understands and knows well for his members that everybody is not on board for having an inclusive community. They're actually standing in the way of progress. But I say all the time, development is going to happen. It can happen to you or it can happen with you, and the community will speak. Their voices will be heard, and people need to have a place to live. They need to have a safe place to live. Columbus can't hold everyone. It is growing outside of the city. We're responsible. I won't say responsible, but we have like 42 jurisdictions that are in Franklin County, and we would love for every one of them to be a partner, but they are not. So I think there's work to be done, but I think it will be the community members, our neighbors, who moves that community to be more inclusive, to be more diverse, to champion the things that they want to see. It can't always be the top down. I very much believe it should be bottom up, and those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. Absolutely. So just having them to be at the table as decisions are being made about where investments go when it comes to CODA and Link Us, like what they would like to see. We know in places where they have had a levy on the ballot that has failed. It has failed in places where the community felt like they didn't see a value for them. They didn't see how it was going to benefit them or their life, how it was going to make a difference. And so when we think about these large initiatives that are coming, that are happening, we need to make sure that the community is at the table and being part of the decision makers, because that's where they live.
Absolutely. Administrator?
Engagement is the key, in my opinion. In order to provide an opportunity for everyone and organic action, all of the residents need to engage in the process and participate in the process. And every resident should think about, what is my agenda as an individual to advance myself individually, my family, my community, my church, my circle, and bond together with others. And if you do that, inclusion will be an organic action. If people participate in the process and ensure that their administrators and their elected leaders reflect their interests and their well-being.
I think what I heard today is that collaboration is so important, that we want to hear from the community. We want to hear from our collaborative partners, and we're moving forward.
Can I ask something real quick? And
yeah.
We could get the heaters back on in a minute, because it's cold up here, my fingers are freezing. But what I will say is, it's disappointing when I come to general session or I come to briefing, I see the same faces as county leadership, but I don't see anybody from the community. And so as I've been having these coffee and conversations, or cones and conversations with Crowley, and I'm representing my colleagues in administration and what we do, because people don't know what commissioners do, we would love to see people show up. We would love to have people's input. We move a $2.2 billion budget. People are so focused on the city of Columbus. That is our largest municipality. It's not the only one. We have a larger budget than they do, right? Like, when it comes to our investment, we move millions of dollars every week. This is your dollars. These are your dollars. You should have a say. We would love to hear. People have stopped movement. Like, we will table a resolution if there's questions. I know we love to be challenged, right? Like, we work for you, we work for the people, but we don't be having nobody
right, come out.
Right.
Come.
We need your people.
We need people to see us, and we need to be intentional about that. And that's why, and you're going to your question about Franklin County as an employer reflecting the community. That's why we created programs such as County Futures, in order to have that extra outreach to provide that support to people we able to recruit. That county government belongs to you. You can work for county government. You can be a part of every resident every day. You can promote and help us advance service excellence and progress. It's not just words, it's actions, because you got be in the community where the people are, and that's why we're having events where we out in the community. We're going to local coffee shops. We're starting to do these things. We got 2 mobile units that will be going into as many neighborhoods as we can, bringing the government, Franklin County, to individual residents.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up and say that we got the mobile units, but he covered it. So.
Let's give them a round of applause. These are your county leaders. These are the people who are working for you, working for our community, working to build stuff together for you. So we ask that you, like Commissioner Crawley charges, come find out, challenge us with county dollars. And we want to thank the Commissioner Crawley, Commissioner Boyce, and county administration for adding your insights and what we have been doing and what we need to do to build a better community. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Carrie Charles.
Thank you all for that insight. And Commissioner, I'm glad I thought it was just me. I was like, it's getting breezy in here. Are we working on the heat? We're not gonna keep y'all much longer. We're not gonna keep you much longer, but we do want to have a couple more. There we go. Have a couple more things we want to get to on our agenda as we talk about our community partners. That was the heat. It's going to be 80 degrees in just a second. Just you watch. I do want to introduce to you today some of our sponsors who have been making a lot of the activities and events happen in the county. So, here to tell us about the best Columbus has to offer is President and CEO of Experience Columbus, Brian Ross.
Thank you to everyone. First of all, great panel. I think we all definitely can thank the county commissioners and administrator and county as a whole for the intentionality on fighting racism. So thank you once again. Good afternoon. I am Brian Ross, President and CEO of Experience Columbus. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit better. For those who aren't familiar with our organization, we are the destination marketing organization for the region. We are dedicated to growing visitor spending and enhancing the visitor experience. The travel economy is vital to Franklin County. Tourism fuels the local economy, employs residents, generates revenue, and provides human services, housing resources, and supports local arts programs. Annually, visitors make nearly 50 million visits to Central Ohio. Those visits are for trade shows, conventions, business trips, leisure visits, and sporting events, spending $6.6 billion and supporting over 75,000 jobs. That's 1 in every 15 jobs in Franklin County. Additionally, the travel industry saves Franklin County households on average $1,400 annually in taxes. For every $1 invested with Experience Columbus, $1,360 goes back to the community. On behalf of our organization, our industry, I'd like to thank President Boyce, Commissioner O'Grady, Commissioner Crawley, and Administrator Wilson, as well as Team Franklin County. The county not only invests financially, but they invest their time. I can tell you my peers across the nation are jealous every time they see us out talking to customers with our county representatives. They've joined us several times on critical site visits, and as we travel to showcase Columbus and Franklin County to potential national associations and groups that are considering bringing their conferences and conventions to Columbus. They are our biggest advocates on the road and here in Franklin County. The world's eyes will be on the city and county for the Summer of Soccer as we host the MLS All-Star Game in July and Manchester City versus Chelsea in August. We're also looking towards hosting a record-breaking number of citywide conferences and events this year with more than 40 expected. Two of the biggest that we're excited about is the Delta Sigma Theta's 51st Midwest Regional Conference. So that'll be here August 1st through 4th. They will generate an estimated $2.7 million in direct visitor spending to our community. So thank you. And also, we will be hosting the African Methodist Episcopal Church's 52nd quadrennial session, August 21st through 28th, which is expected to be the largest convention ever held in Columbus, setting unprecedented records in both direct visitor spend and reserved room nights. More than 13,000 people will be coming to our community and will provide an estimated $21 million in direct visitor spend. So, very exciting. Just want to thank you again for your support of Experience Columbus and the region's travel economy. We look forward to everything that we'll accomplish together in 2024. Thank you.
I thought that's what you meant. Thank you so much. Saw the Deltas in here, getting all excited. I'm gonna need to be invited to the VIP events. Thank you very much. Brian, thank you. Please welcome our next sponsor serving Franklin County with solutions for solid waste, the Executive Director, Joe Lombardi from SWACO, the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio.
Well, good afternoon, and what a great conversation we had earlier today with Commissioner Boyce and Crawley and Administrator Wilson. I want to apologize first to Commissioner Boyce. I know he said be brief, brother, but I was told I had 45 minutes. Is that incorrect? That's incorrect? All right, well, we'll try to shorten that up. Good afternoon, Commissioner Boyce, Crawley, and O'Grady, and Franklin County staff and guests. For those who don't know me, I'm Joe Lombardi, and I serve as the Executive Director at SWACO. SWACO is your solid waste authority for Franklin County, serving all 41 communities that make up Franklin County. We bring in about 1 million tons of waste each year to our landfill. And a quick statistic, 76% of that does not need to be in there. I want to thank the commissioners and Administrator Wilson for convening such an important conversation about activities taking shape in our community. As a former football coach, I couldn't help but be reminded something we used to always tell our athletes. Teamwork makes the dream work, and I'm sure you've all heard that. But that is so true about our community here in Franklin County. We do such a great job of working together to solve problems. Today's conversations have centered on building great partnerships to address some of the most pressing issues facing our community, and I am thrilled to have just a moment to talk a bit about the work our regional team is doing to prioritize sustainability. A few standouts include 100% of our cities in Franklin County offer curbside residential recycling collections programs. Franklin County is home to 23 food waste drop-off sites and more than 100 recycling drop-off sites. Last November, SWACO opened the first of its kind recycling convenience center for hard-to-recycle materials. The center, which accepts most items for free and is open to the public, has been visited by more than 400 residents in its first 4 months, and we have helped divert more than 45,000 pounds of materials like batteries, styrofoam, electronics, and paint from our landfill. I don't know about you, but having a nearby free location to take all that stuff my wife has been on me about that sits in our garage in our basement for the last 35 years of our marriage is great to have someplace very convenient that I can finally tell her I can bring it to. These projects were made possible because of the support they received not just from the SWACO Board of Trustees, but from city, nonprofit, and business leaders across Franklin County. Our collective work is paying off. The latest data shows that SWACO Franklin County's diversion rate is 54%. That is an awesome number. It's best in the Midwest, if not the country. A record high that we need to continue working on. As I look around the room today, I see so many teammates who are helping to make Central Ohio's dream of a greener, healthier, cleaner, safer future because of the reality. It's only fitting that today, during this State of the County luncheon, in the final week of Earth Month, that SWACO extends our appreciations to all of you who've done your part to help this community. Thank you very much. And if you haven't started your journey yet toward reduction, please, we're here to help. I have some of my SWACO team with me today. We will be hanging around later. If you want to talk to us about trash, we'll talk to you all day long about it. Thank you again to the commissioners, the county team for the opportunity to address all of you today. And together, we can ensure a sustainable future for our region. Thank you again.
You had me scared for a second. I was going 45 minutes. What you got to talk about? Thank you so much, Joe. And finally, I'd like to welcome to the stage Don DePiro, the CEO of the Columbus Chamber of Commerce. And Don has had a lot of experience with county government, including covering it when he was president and publisher of Columbus Business First. Please welcome Don.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks, everyone. I know I'm the last thing between you and getting back to work, so maybe I'll take 45 minutes, huh? So why is it important for your Columbus Chamber of Commerce to support Franklin County and today's wonderful event? Because partnerships between government agencies and the business community are as important today as they've ever been before. We need to come together to address the growing challenges we face in today's complicated society. Public-private partnerships leverage the strengths of both sectors. They combine the efficiency of the private sector with the public sector's critical focus on what is best for our communities and for our citizens. These partnerships encourage innovation by bringing together diverse expertise, resources, and perspectives to solve complex problems. Public-private partnerships help to finance and develop infrastructure projects such as transportation, energy, and communications. Got loud in here for a second, didn't it? These partnerships stimulate economic growth by attracting private investment, spurring entrepreneurship, and creating jobs. One new partnership between Franklin County and our Columbus Chamber will create a comprehensive program for 125 migrant, refugee, and immigrant-owned businesses throughout Franklin County. This program, named Cultivate Us, will increase productivity and competitiveness for these emerging businesses. Most importantly, it will connect them with majority-owned businesses so they can grow, prosper, and work together. Public-private partnerships distribute risks between both sectors, and that ensures these projects are delivered on time and within budget. These partnerships create accountability between us so our citizens have greater trust and confidence in both government and in business. Public-private partnerships make all of us better. So I did this a year ago at your first event, and I'd like to just take 1 minute and do it again. I'd now like to ask all of our public employees in attendance today to stand up and let us recognize and thank each and every one of you for what you do to keep us moving forward every single day. Come on, all of you in the public sector. Thank you all for keeping us moving together, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. They're going to say them by name. I'm trying to save us a few degrees. The Columbus Chamber of Commerce, Experience Columbus, Swaco, Jobs Ohio, and One Columbus. Thanks again. Everybody, take a moment, go like this. All right, now the commissioners are very pleased to recognize some of the community partner organizations that they get to work with each and every year. And so here to present the Community Partner of the Year Awards is Commissioner's Community Partnership Administrator, Curtis Brown.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will get started and save my joke about being number one today. I'll let you have it, Commissioner Boyce. Yeah, thanks. Good afternoon. Curtis Brown, Community Partnerships Administrator, along with my colleague Brittany Hilliard, who is the Community Partnerships Coordinator. We're happy to be here today to recognize 4 of our outstanding community partners. As everyone has said before, we cannot do this without our community partners, and we're here to recognize some great ones today. So I'll go ahead and get started. Our first Partner of the Year recognition goes to Hilliard Food Pantry Plus, formerly known as Hilliard Community Assistance Council. Yes. With a mission to improve the well-being of their community by providing food and support, Hilliard Food Pantry Plus served over 13,600 residents in their community in 2023. Hilliard Food Pantry Plus also aids residents who are applying for Medicaid and supplemental nutrition assistance. On July 9th of 2023, Hilliard Food Pantry Plus experienced a devastating fire, and the pantry was a total loss. Luckily, no one was hurt. Despite the challenging circumstances, employees and volunteers relocated to the pantry parking lot in less than 48 hours. That deserves a round of applause. They continued accepting utility assistance requests and serving every resident every day. Please help me in welcoming Executive Director Aaron West as we recognize Hilliard Food Pantry Plus.
Hi, my name is Erin West, and I work at the Hilliard Food Pantry Plus. And Mark Twain said, the 2 most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you figure out why. From the beginning, 60 years ago, we wanted to be more than a food pantry. And 2 years ago, Franklin County Community Partnership enabled us to lean into our vision, our why. Consequently, we added the plus to our name, and we do many things to embrace our plus, like you mentioned. We are grateful for this honor and excited to continue providing much-needed services, and thank you again, and special thanks to our Franklin County Commissioners, Curtis Brown and Brittany Strickland Hilliard. Thank you so much.
Our second Partner of the Year recognition goes to All Teens Hopeful About Tomorrow, or All That. All That empowers our young people to become scholars. Yes, a round of applause. All That empowers our young people to become scholars in school and in life. Through mentoring teenage youth in academic achievement, life skills development, and career planning, All That provides each student with the courage to succeed in school and beyond. In 2023, All That supported over 540 middle and high school students through mentorship, educational activities, career exposure opportunities, and essential emotional support support services. Additionally, approximately 39,600 hours of programming were provided to the youth. Their accomplishments have not only shaped scholars within the classroom, but have also instilled in each student the courage to thrive and serve every resident every day. Please help me in welcoming Executive Director Danella Hicks as we recognize them as our Community Partner of the Year.
Thank you very much for acknowledging all that Teens Hopeful About Tomorrow. I've asked one of our board members to stand with me because Jay Hollingshed has been very active in making sure that we provide the things that our kids need on the east side of Columbus. So thank you, commissioners, for having confidence in our organization. It is our goal to do even more for our students, to make sure that they are academically engaged, that they understand the careers that they can strive for, and that they also have the social, emotional supports that they need to be successful. So thank you again for all that you do for our program. Thank you, Curtis.
Our third Partner of the Year recognition award goes to Physicians Care Connection. Specializing in care coordination, Physicians Care Connection provides outstanding care coordination services to some of our most vulnerable residents. The definition of a community partner, Physicians Care Connection builds bridges with community partners to enhance its service delivery. In 2023, Physicians Care Connection saved an estimated $1,320,000 in hospital emergency department diversions, and an estimated savings of $1 million to the shelter system by housing pregnant mothers. For patients, the primary benefits of emergency department diversion include receiving timely appropriate care, experiencing shorter wait times, and potentially avoiding unnecessary hospital admissions. With their unwavering commitment to serve, Physicians Care Connection embodies the essence of a true community partner, serving every resident every day. Please help me in welcoming the Executive Director, President E.C. Green, as we recognize Physicians Care Connection.
Good afternoon to the President of the County Commissioners, Kevin Boyce, Commissioner Crawley, and Commissioner O'Grady in his absence. We thank you for this prestigious honor. While many things have changed because of the pandemic, one of the constants has been the support of the county for PCC and this community to help our neighbors realize their optimal health through a lens that includes health equity. While we have done great work together, I am thrilled about the continued work that will happen with the county and you and the audience as partners as we continue to address the needs of people who are vulnerable in this community. I am most happy to have a number of my staff here. I tried to get all of them here, but here are a few of my peeps. They are the backbone of PCC and many times a lifeline to people who are marginalized. I would also like to say thank you to Curtis and Brittany for all you do to help the community partnerships rise together. Thanks again for this honor. Good afternoon and blessings. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Watch your step there. It's kind of. Sure.
Our fourth and final Partner of the Year recognition goes to COSI. Round of applause for COSI. Inspiring the youth and the youth at heart, COSI has long been a trailblazer of innovation, education, and inspiration within our county and beyond, having a global impact on the field of science and technology. Through its commitment to science literacy and hands-on learning experiences, COSI has enriched the lives of countless individuals. In 2023, COSI distributed over 15,000 learning lunch boxes. And when I literally say we go everywhere, and these lunch boxes are everywhere. They were so popular, and COSI did a really, really great job with them. Their fun hands-on science kit that provides 5 days worth of learning content around various topics. Like their space-themed box that was built in partnership with NASA. Since the beginning of this collaboration, COSI has distributed approximately 40,000 learning lunch boxes, and I'm sure that's probably more now, 40,000 lunch boxes across the county, and COSI has also been awarded the Best Science Museum in America by USA Today's annual 10 Best Readers' Choice Award for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 consecutive years. That's right here in our county. 4 consecutive years. So please help me in welcoming President and CEO Dr. Frederick Bertley as we recognize COSI.
Thank you very much. Be brief, my brother, be brief. I know you all need to get out of here. I will say this, I'm keeping my hat on because I'm a little cold. Now, many of you know I'm from Canada, and you all tell me, why are you feeling so cold? You're from Canada. I want to be clear. Jesus was born in a stable. It does not make him a horse. I do not like the cold. But with that, what I love is the warm affection of this community. And I want to underscore that all the great things you heard that were read, Franklin County Commission, this group, the commissioners, the team led by Wilson, they were the first to support the Learning Lunchbox program. We have now distributed throughout Franklin County up to 50,000, but we are now in 17 different states and 9 different countries around the world distributing STEM opportunities to engage, inspire, and transform lives and communities. And that started with the great support of you all and the wonderful Franklin County Commission. And so with that, I want to say that I am, in my closing remarks, want to nominate you all as the community partner. Give a round of applause for the amazing Franklin County Commission and how they support everything we do. Thank you very much. Team, please come up for a photo.
Jump in there. You get in front there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Watch your step. It's hard.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Absolutely. Let's give all of our partners of the year another round of applause. I will just say quickly that Brittany and I, as I spoke earlier, we are so excited to be a part of this in Franklin County. I just would also like to say to our commissioners, when we go out and do our site visits, we always hear about how great community partnerships is and how appreciative our community partners are of that. So I just wanted to pass that along. But thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much. And I just got to double check. Dr. B, did you say 9 countries? Okay. I didn't know that. Congratulations on the good work that you are all doing, and thank you to all of our supporters. Curtis didn't turn the page, so I'm trying to get us caught up to where we supposed to be. I just want to make sure before, there we go. All right, so now we will have County Administrator Ken Wilson recognize some amazing county employees who go above and beyond for the residents each and every day. The Every Resident, Everyday Excellence in Public Service Award is presented to team members who exemplify the Commissioner's commitment to providing high quality, professional service to every Franklin County resident every day. And first to present is your County Administrator, Ken Wilson.
Thank you, everyone. We're getting to my favorite part of the program, and that's to recognize our members of Team Franklin County who make it possible for me to stand here with great confidence and feel as though I'm the leader of the best county in the nation, bar none. And if we're not, we're working on it. Show me the data. So we want to recognize, in all seriousness, those employees that help us each day meet our goals of service, excellence, and progress. Also want to recognize County Administration, Deputy County Administrator Chris Long, and Deputy County Administrator Joy Bivens, who work with me and a team of dedicated professionals. And they are all every resident, every day in excellence employees, and I could not be here and stand and with great confidence and say that the state of the county is strong without all of their great efforts. So I want to lead off with an agency that is unsung and recognize an employee that started with us during the pandemic, which is, what ideal time to start a job is during a pandemic. That really will test your mettle. To have to start a job during the pandemic, meet new people. This individual has been promoted several times in a short period of because of those efforts. And I would like to recognize Lindsay Allen of Animal Care and Control as our awardee, our first Excellence in Public Service, Every Resident, Every Day awardee winner. If you could come up and receive your recognition. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank the entire team at Animal Care and Control. Next, awardee for our Every Resident, Every Day and Excellence in Public Service winner is Perla Martinez in our Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. She is truly a diversity champion. And I gave that agency the charge of infusing equity in the DNA of our organization, and they wake up every morning dedicated to doing just that. So I want to recognize her for being a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our last individual is not able to be with us, which is surprising because this individual has been with us 4 decades plus and has been a dedicated employee within our Child Support Enforcement Agency, Kimberly Collins. She has worked her way up from an entry-level position to being a deputy director in our agency. And if she was here, she is one of the most humble servants you would ever meet. She is a sterling example of servant leadership. So I want to recognize her in her absence and give her her flowers when she shows up virtually. With no awardee. So thanks and congratulations again to all the winners. And it sounds like, each of you provide excellent service for Franklin County residents. And I know how impactful it is for this work to be done. And I'd like to just, again, say my words of appreciation from county leadership. Now we will have closing remarks from President Boyce.
All right, another round of applause for all of our Franklin County partners, collaborators, and residents. Central Ohio is growing, and we're expected to grow by over 1 million people over the next 30 years. And what that means is it takes all of us to ensure that as the tide rises, all boats are lifted. Every resident, every day. It's not just a slogan or a saying, but it's a way of life. And I challenge you all to engage with us and embrace the idea. You know, when I was growing up in Central Ohio as a kid, I fondly remember getting tickets to the Clippers games. They would give out free tickets to Columbus City schools, and every now and then we'd actually organize a trip and make it to the game, and it was a thrilling moment. But I think about that old stadium on the west side that is withering away as we speak, and I think about the new stadium that we sit in today, and it is demonstrative of what can happen, and when change happens, how the difference can be. The Central Ohio I grew up in is not the Central Ohio that we live in today. The Central Ohio that you live in today will not be the Central Ohio that your kids live in and are raised in tomorrow. But with that growth comes challenges. Challenges to meet our affordable housing needs. I see Lark Mallory was here. She's been working very diligently with us to address that. Challenges for public transit. Challenges for infrastructure, challenges in healthcare, and challenges to address the underlying issues of poverty and racism. I'm absolutely certain that we've got a ways to go, but I'm even more confident that together we'll get there, and Central Ohio will be a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And that is our promise. That is our commitment, and that is Franklin County. I'd be remiss if I didn't say I recognize that Congresswoman Beatty's office was also here today. It wasn't on the list, and so I want to make sure that you all know that she sent her staff along with Congresswoman Carey to be here. And that's important, not just to recognize elected officials, but it's more demonstrative of the partnership that we have together. Congresswoman Beatty, Congressman Carey have both been significant partners in ensuring that federal resources come to Central Ohio to make a difference in the lives of our residents. So with that, God bless you all. Carey, do you want to say any parting words? Yeah, I think you do. Come on, you just look like it. Come on up here, number one. And thank you so much for being with us today. God bless you all.
I have enough talking to do later on today, so I'll see you all at 6, 7, and 11. Thanks so much for having me. Keep up the great work in Franklin County, and we'll see you all soon.